Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another podcast of Shifting Impressions. My name is Leigh, and I'm here with my co-hostesses, Gretta and Yvonne, and of course, the Realm of Beings. We're very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. When you hear that term, Realm of Beings, you may ask yourself, who are they? And how do they operate in our lives? Do they operate in my life? Why are they even coming through with these messages now? And do we all receive guidance? How can I learn to use that guidance in order to flow through my life with ease? These conversations will help you examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you are creating in your life and how it shows up. Welcome, ladies. How are you today?
Fine, Leigh.
Great,
fine.
thank you.
Yeah. So today we will be discussing the quotation, "Stop blaming yourself. Instead, appreciate yourself and see yourself as worthy." So is this like step one on a 12-step program to self-love? How exactly do we stop blaming ourselves and see ourselves as worthy? How do we take blame out of out of our context altogether?
I think we have to first understand why we started blaming ourselves for something. Because a lot of times we're blaming ourselves for things that we did not even create. The other person created it. Like, I will say give you a touchy subject, abortion. And I've worked with women who have aborted their children, and they take on a sense of guilt about it. So that's blaming themselves. From that guilt, they can manifest all kinds of mental equivalencies, physical mental equivalencies, and emotional ones. Like, for instance, I had one woman who developed cancer, came to me, and I said, "Where was your cancer?" And she said it was around her uteral area. So then I knew something was happening with that. And I said, "So what was going on with your uterus? What were you thinking about that?" And out of that conversation came the fact that when she was younger, she had aborted her first child because she felt that she wouldn't be able to take care of it properly, that the man would not support her in that. So then that was the decision she made. So she blamed herself for that. She had 2 other children with her husband, but this was before she was married and she was younger then. So that's a blame, okay? She blamed herself for and felt that she killed her child, okay? So what happens when you understand that each individual and each person creates their own reality, when you thoroughly understand that, then you know that you had no control over that child. See, people think that because it's a baby, the baby is more powerful than the adult. And then some people think the adult is more powerful than the baby. So then they were taking on that the baby is, she was more powerful than the baby, that she created the reality for the baby to make its transition, or the embryo to make its transition, which is inaccurate, because you cannot really kill anything. What you do is you support that individual in making its transition. So that agreement, I told her, I said, an agreement was made between you and that energy essence, that when it came incarnated here as a human being, it chose you to be the parent. But there was a relationship there. There was a discussion taking on at a different level, that I'm coming into this space, but I'm only going to be here for a certain period of time. And then when I'm here at this certain period of time, I'm going to exit and make my transition. So it stayed inside her womb up to the point that it wanted to. And she supported it by giving the abortion, not about causing the abortion. She was supporting the embryo. So that is a very, it's a touchy case for people, in that some people believe that they're murdering the children if they give abortions and so forth like that, when in reality they are not. Because everything, I'm gonna say it again, especially for our audience, everything, every one of us creates our reality. That we start creating the reality at the incarnate stage of our development. So that is before we step into this space.
I mean,
go ahead, Leigh.
Oh, that's a really interesting perspective. And that's what we do around here. We shift impressions, right? I mean, I think there are probably a lot of women out there that can relate to, these circumstances. And I mean, and I think a lot of people do share that, oh, I feel so guilty about doing this. And it's so important to understand or to know a different perspective, that no, you were the support in that creation, and you supported it up until it was time. And so it alleviates a lot of pressure, I think, just to see it from just, sometimes we need to just step a little bit to either side to just see something differently. And I hope that provides some light for people out there.
I think because that's an issue, and I didn't even know we were coming to discuss it, but that is an issue that I found with many women that have gone through this, and they look at it in such a traumatic way, in seeing themselves as being the killers. Mm-hmm. And those individuals who are talking about changing the abortion laws and doing this, and they say you're killing, they're raising up signs and picketing and saying you're killing the child. But they're saying that because they don't understand about creation of reality. They don't understand that each individual, I'm going to say it again, each individual, I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are, creates their own reality. Yeah. You were going to say something, Yvonne.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't want to spend the whole podcast on, this particular example, but just, a little bit of my perspective is that the culture, society, divides people even further, making it more difficult sometimes for people that might be find themselves in this situation, by piling on the guilt and by demonizing women for being the killer in a way. But I think this is a really good topic to explain or demonstrate what we're trying to do here on the podcast, which is shift impressions, and which is to help people understand that they create, each one of us creates our own reality. And, back to the quote again, stop blaming yourself, appreciate yourself and see yourself as worthy. And we're going to go right back and drill it in again of, go deep inside and realize, that it's about loving yourself, every single part of yourself. And once you do that, you can't be blaming yourself in a situation like that. I mean, you can, but it's not serving you well.
When you were talking, Yvonne, an image came to me, and you were talking about going deep into yourself and loving yourself. And I feel that once you actually get into that, when that energy of self-love and all that is brewing inside you, and Greta, tell me if you agree or disagree, it does create this sort of metamorphosis inside, right? And like that energy is so big. Like, can it just push all of unwanted and unneeded, just like push it out of the cells, push it out of the body, and just like fill those places that were once unworthy or blameful or resentful or angry or hurtful, and just fill it with something new?
Yes, because it's a very strong energy, but we also have to look at whatever else the person is going through, can compound that. Right. But yes, I'm in total agreement with you, Leigh. It's a wonderful thing. To share my own personal disclosure about that, I was pregnant when I was 24 years old, and I had a miscarriage. I'm not going to go into why I had the miscarriage, but I did. And out of that experience, let me go back to the woman who had the uterine cancer. That's how her blame manifested itself. My blame, even though I didn't have an abortion, I had a miscarriage, but it was still the separation and dealing with the loss, quote unquote loss, not knowing anything about creation of reality. I'm just going through this situation. So how I manifested mine was through alcoholism. So I started drinking. That was my drinking and doing pills and whatever else, So that was how I manifested the physical blame within myself. Other people will manifest the physical blame in something else. Like this woman did cancer. Somebody else may do something else. Like if you anger, the liver holds anger for you, So it can be very, I think, devastating. And I'm saying that based on my own experience. I felt it very devastating to go through that loss, because that's how I saw it. I didn't see that the child and I had an understanding with each other, and it was a boy, that he was only going to be here for a certain period of time. I did not have the knowledge of that now.
Greta, how long did it, I'm sorry.
No,
how long did it take you to shift that perspective, and what was the catalyst, if you don't mind sharing that piece of it?
That was extremely challenging for me, because I had my husband at the time also blamed me. He said, you killed our child. So I started dealing with that, and how long did it take? I'm trying to think. I'm going to base it on the alcoholism. Maybe, I I stopped drinking. I slowly started drinking from the stage of being totally intoxicated towards starting to lessen and lessen and lessen, and then eventually I just stopped. Like I haven't had any alcohol in my body for, let's see, I'm 74 now. So if you take off when I stopped drinking by the time I was about 30, maybe 33, something like that. So take that from 74, and that will show you how long I have not taken any alcoholism in my body. Yeah, I just stopped it.
So as you raised your consciousness and became more conscious of, and the knowing that you had the choices to do something different, do you think that was key in stopping your experience of alcoholism?
I think so, and I realized that it wasn't serving me. Well, let me correct myself. It was serving me. Everything that we go through, everything that we create is for our good. So what it made me do was examine, how did I feel about Greta? Was Greta going to continue to see herself as a murderer? Even though I did not know that the child had made the decision. I didn't know that. But I had to start to love myself. I kept trying to get pregnant after that and was not successful. So I think because I was so traumatized, I haven't told you the whole trauma of it. I don't think we necessarily have to do that today, but it was very traumatic for me because there are other things attached to that,
Yeah.
So
may I just pause you for just one moment? Thank you for sharing that story with us. It's very personal, so to help, to benefit the people that may be listening now. So thank you for that, Greta, being vulnerable. And that is a multi-layered onion to peel. And when we come back from the break, maybe we can take a look at that from a few different angles, from the, your internal feelings and, how your partner was helping you in that create support relationship. If you don't mind, if we can dissect this a little further so our listeners can see the interrelations of all of these different relations around us. Thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions. When we come back from the break, we will pick this conversation right up. Thank you.
Welcome back. We are now in our second segment here on Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, our weekly podcast, and it's on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we are so grateful to be here, to be able to share some of these ideas that, we're all in this together. We're learning and experiencing this reality and our own realities we're creating today. As we do on every Friday, we discuss quotes that are channeled through Greta in through the realm of beings. And the one today up for topic of discussion is stop blaming yourself. Instead, appreciate yourself and see yourself as worthy. And it seems like in almost in every one of these conversations, we come back to the key, which is the driving force, I guess, in helping us shift our own impressions and facilitating and encouraging all of our listeners out there to make a shift, to love themselves deeper, have better capacity inside themselves for loving themselves. And as a result of that, you know, we can all shift our impression and attract the things that we really, you know, the lessons that might serve us better. Not that everything we experience is a lesson, good or bad, and it's not for us. I mean, we can judge it if we choose to, but you know, it's all there to help us move through this process and evolve. So yeah, I guess what I just want to really say is, you know, I feel like when we're in a deep sense of acceptance of this, of our own creation of reality, of creation of reality, life does seem to get a little easier, at least for me, because you just end up, you know, accepting and being responsible, and instead of in that constant loop of the blame game. We call it the blame game, and we know that never ends up in a good place. You know, it just ends up in a big ugly circle of like pointing fingers at each other out there or somewhere. So you know, it stops here as far as I'm concerned, in your own self, in your own heart. So what say you ladies to continue our little talk here?
I know Leigh was saying something at break, and I suggested to her that she bring it up in the podcast, your question.
Well, my question was, you know, I thought maybe we could dive more into the intricacies of your situation and look at, you know, your partner's role in it and things like that. However, you know, we have a limited time that we are here, and that is why we can't really get into all of those things right now. But what I was asking Greta on the break is, if we have people who are sort of entrenched in blame and not accepting themselves, how do they start to release that? How do they start to let that go so they can bring in that unconditional self-love that we talk about? And then I also said, but sometimes the saying just love yourself unconditionally, that's so elusive. You know, what is the trick? What is the mechanism? You know, how do we actually feel that? How do we actually bring that in?
I think for me, the final, because life goes on, but the final thing for me was that I placed myself in a position that I learned that I create my own reality. That was the beginning for me. How do you do that? Because when I first learned it, I told my mentor, I said, "You got to be crazy. Mm-hmm. Are you telling me that I created?" I can't say the word that I said to her, but because they would bleep me out. But I did say, you know, what do you mean I created this? You can't. I don't believe that. I did all this. No, you lying. You're not right. You know, I went through that. I went through denial.
Oh, I think that's step 2 in the 12-step programs. I think realization, then denial. I don't know. Or so.
Yeah, I denied it. So it took a while. Now, what does a while mean? I don't know. I can't tell you. It took 2 days. It took a month. I don't know anymore. But I remember at first, there was no way that you could teach me that I created all of this in my life. Okay? No way. So, but as I saw things, as I put the thoughts with things that I would see, I started to see it. that's what really started me to change. I started to see it. I started learning that if I thought about something, be it quote unquote good, be it quote unquote bad, you know, I could see that I could create it. So I started to pay attention to what was happening to me. That's really what helped. I started to pay attention. Then I started paying attention. I started reading. I started going to classes. I created a class myself that we had our own mentor that would come every week studying this about creation of reality. And like I remember two of the women, they wanted just a little bit of money. They didn't want to feel greedy. You know, they didn't want to be greedy. So they asked the force. So they were seeing, at that time, we were still seeing the force as outside of ourselves. Okay. So each one of them went home, said, just bring me a little bit of money. You know, I don't have to be a millionaire. Just bring me a little bit of money. So when they both got back to class, they didn't know that each one of them had asked for the same thing, for the same experience. So one of them said, well, I created, when I said, bring me a little bit of money, I was finding nickels and dimes and pennies all over the place. Turned out the other person was finding nickels and dimes and pennies on the floor and stuff like that. That's what they asked for. They said, bring me a little bit of money. So they got it. So things like that, he's a grown man now, but he was only about 7 or 8 years old. He wanted a bicycle. So he would sit in our classes about, you know, creating your own reality and so forth. That child went out there and his parents were not intending on getting him a bicycle, but he thought about, I want a bicycle. He could see himself riding it. I mean, he was really into it. And then he came to class, he said, I got my bicycle. So then that's going with my mind. I'm going, okay, so if that's happening with him and the little bit of money, what am I doing? So it was really understanding creation of reality started really to assist me in making the transition, even without knowing about, I didn't know anything about unconditional love. I didn't know anything about QDR, quick displace replace. I didn't know anything about that. I just saw what was happening. I saw what was happening around me and kept reading and kept going to class. And then, you know, it dawned on me. And of course, the realm of beings, as they stated in one podcast, are constantly teaching. You know, I don't basically have humanoids teaching me anymore. It's basically them, because the stuff I'm learning, you can't necessarily find it in a book yet until the three of us create our book.
Yvonne, do you have something to weigh in? Because I have something bubbling as Greta was talking.
Go ahead. I'd love to hear what you have to say, but yeah, I in my head, I'm thinking, what, you know, over the years and more recently, what have I manifested and created in my life? And I totally agree.
So it seems what I've gleaned, what I've distilled down from what Greta's words were one, maybe just be open to listen, right? 2, you can not believe what you hear, right? 3, don't take our word for it. You know, the point of life is to experience things, right? So you could have that disbelief, that doubt, but be a little open, if you can open yourself, and just, I don't know, do some real life experimental tests and pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your emotions, look at look at what you're creating, or what, if you don't think you're creating it, what is showing up around you, and pick one little item, pick you know, the least resistant item, and see if you can shift it. And then, you know, experience. That is the key to everything. right? Don't take our word for anything. Don't believe everything you read. Give it a test in your own life and just see what happens. And if you see that there's some change, if you get some aha moment, follow that breadcrumb and see where it leads you down the path.
Mm-hmm. I think what you just explained is my life. Yeah, you just explained my life. It wasn't just, I did have an aha moment. I had several. In fact, I'm still having aha moments. Okay.
Yes, let's hope so. Let's let the ahas never end.
No, they're not going to end because they can't end. Because right. What is this space? See, we might as well relax.
Yes.
We decided to manifest ourselves in this space. And I love Kent. He's going, aha. He's got an aha moment too. Right. Wonderful. He's our producer, for those of you who don't know.
Not just a river in Egypt.
So it's just wonderful. This is the space for lessons. That's why we came here. Lessons. That we have a lesson in everything. Lessons are going on. I say there's a lesson in washing dishes. Okay? It might be, one of the lessons might be, I'm tired of washing dishes. I'm going to go buy a dishwasher. The lesson might be, oh, I like washing dishes. It gives me an opportunity not to think. I'll just clean my, so just a simple thing of washing dishes can have a lot of depth to it. Everything has depth to it. But when we're dealing with the depth, we want to deal with the inner depth. That's where we want to go, inner depth. And that's where I had to go to release that particular part of it. I also want to add to this because some people think that once you lose this physical body, you're gone. I want you to know that when the children that have left through abortion or have left through miscarriage or have left through whatever they've chosen to leave by, when they go to the transitional portal, they do grow. They grow up to be adults. Like my son, I went and I saw my son and his father, who was my first husband. And my son is as big as his father. So there's no end to life. There really isn't. We go into the transitional portals, which some people call heaven. And I'm not going to include hell in that experience, although some people may create that, but according to how they believe it to be. But it's just, we need to look at this life as an experience, go through it with joy and ease. Don't blame ourselves for some creations of realities that we wish that we had never created. Because I've got quite a few of those. I look back and I say, Greta, why did you create this? I was just telling somebody some years ago, well, my mom came to live with me, so I had to build a ramp on the back. And I was going out the back door to go to work, right? And I didn't see the black ice on the ramp. So what I did was, as soon as I hit that ramp, I went, woo! My legs flew up in the air, my book bag, my purse, everything went all over the place. And there I was, And the only thing I did after it happened, and this was after I was doing the work that I do now, I laid back and I said, well, I might as well enjoy this. I laid back. I looked up at the sky. I said, what a beautiful sky. It gave me an opportunity to see something beautiful and different in my life. So I said, thank you. Then I came back to the realization that, Greta, you're not here just to look at the sky and enjoy it. You're supposed to be going to work. And then I said, how am I going to get to work. Because I tried standing up on it, which was silly, because what were you going to do? You're going to fall back down again. I mean, it was black ice all over. So then it came to me and I said, okay, I gathered up my things and I scooted on my butt all the way down to the end of the ramp where there was ground. And I knew that, it was going to be more stable for me. And then I got up and went and got in my car and drove to work.
You made yourself your own slide if you would have gotten into it.
I did. And I want you to know right here on the air, my butt was cold.
Lessons
yeah.
in everything. And you just can pick apart that beautiful little example of your experience and just say there's just so many lessons if you take the time to pause and be grateful and appreciate whatever it is that, what came to me is you built a beautiful ramp for your mother and, you're using it and, in a playful way for yourself. So, but we,
wait, Yvonne,
this
before
podcast,
you carry us out, wait 1 second, because I just want to put one little more nugget into this conversation before you wrap it up and we go to break. It just occurred to me that if you're going to not be in the present moment, at least look back on your quote unquote past moments. I mean, what do you get from blaming or resent or whatever? If you're going to look quote unquote back, can you at least just look with some objectivity from a new perspective? And I was totally just sidetracked by that. and see what you can learn from it. See if there were some teaching moments. I mean, I think the best possible use of, if you're going to be out of the present moment and quote unquote looking back, is try to figure out what you can learn. Is there any lesson you can learn? That seems more helpful to me in this examination of going deep. Take it away, Yvonne.
Yeah, we have reached the point in our podcast where we're going to take another short break here in segment 2. And when we come back, we're going to hear from the realm. So stay with us. We're on Transformation Talk Radio. We are Greta, Leigh, and I'm Yvonne, and we're here every Friday talking about shifting impressions and having these great conversations. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Hello, welcome back to Shifting Impressions. I'm Leigh, I'm here with Yvonne and Greta, and the Realm of Beings will hopefully be joining us in just a couple of seconds. So we've reached that point in the podcast where we go to the direct transmission to the Realm of Beings, and they weigh in on our quotation of the day. So let's see what they have to say. Realm, are you present?
Yes.
Okay, so today, Yvonne and Greta and I have been working with the quotation, stop blaming yourself. Instead, appreciate yourself and see yourself as worthy. What do you have to add today?
Cancel. Lack of love of self. Cancel that. Instead, put in its place love of self. Now, I know that for many, that sounds so simplistic, but that has so much energy to it. So much energy. Love of self. That is the biggest thing that you can ever do for yourself.
How do we cancel out not loving ourselves, though? I mean, how do we remove that?
I'm not going to blame myself for anything. I'm going to release the blame of it. I don't need to blame myself. That's why we started off with cancel. Cancel it. Cancel feeling hurt. Cancel feeling responsible for everybody else's creation of reality. That's what makes you blame yourself. You're looking outside yourself. You're looking at, what did what did I do to this person? Like we've talked about saviorhood. Saviorhood is a very good example. You want to go out and you want to save people. You want to save people because look at them, look what they're doing. I want them to change. Stop looking outside. Stop trying to save the world. Save you if you want to save somebody. Save you. And one of the ways of saving you is to stop blaming you, blaming yourselves for what decisions your children have made. Each one of your children is making their own reality. You're not responsible for that. Let it go. You're not responsible that your mother, this is happening to your mother, or your mother married a man that you think she shouldn't have married, and you're blaming yourselves. How do you blame yourself for that? Because I've had people, and with Greta, where the people have been in physical altercations. And so you could think, maybe they're doing that because of me. That's a blame on internally. Maybe they're doing that because of me. You see.
I think life would just be so much simpler if we could just remember that every day we wake up out of our nighttime sleep and just, start our day and just go through in the present, and don't be thinking about the past, or don't be worrying about the future. Just stay focused on having fun and being playful and being joyful right here in the moment, and not taking on anybody's stuff. That it is hard to do, though. We're so programmed, I think, that it's a task, it's a lesson, it's something that it's a constant work in progress. But life would be simpler if we hadn't, we don't blame ourselves so much.
Realm,
like
is that
what you said when you said that life would be so simpler?
Sorry?
When you said that life would be so simpler.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us don't want simple. What were you going to say, Leigh?
I was going to ask to piggyback on Yvonne's comment. I mean, is that something that is that some tangible resource or method we can use if, we have the foresight to, upon waking, just say, this is a new day, and today I'm going to make it my intention to blame no one, including myself, just as a little daily reminder? Or does that sort of affirmation kind of bring more blame in? How does it work?
Well, some people in our audience don't know how to do affirmations. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the QDR, but that doesn't mean that they know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So that word that we said at the beginning, cancel, cancel, cancel. Cancel the stuff. Say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Now that's very simplistic. And instead, what I'm going to put in, I'm going to pay attention to me. I'm going to see how I can do a better life, how I can develop more prosperity in my life, how I can be more healthy, how I can lose weight or gain weight. You see, dealing with self-production. That's it. I like that.
I like that too. Self-production. I was like, self-production. That's a good one.
Yeah. Self-production instead of outside production. Inner production, folks. Inner. Forget that other stuff. Stop blaming yourself. Most of the time, it's not even you in the first place. But we take on blame for everything. I'm blaming the economy. It's because of me. I'm blaming myself for not working, and I have a family to feed. Stop blaming yourself. The more you blame yourself, the more you create that which you're blaming yourself for. See, that's the other thing. This whole thing is energy. What energy do you want? You want blame, 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 blame. Greta gave that example of the woman who blamed herself and gave herself cancer. Blame, blame, blame. I'm going to blame myself because my mom got sick. I'm going to blame because I didn't do what I needed to do for her. Forget that. Forget it. Cancel, cancel, cancel.
And Greta, in Realm, is the antidote to blame just acceptance? Just accept, okay, I created this, and now I can choose to either learn from it or not, but just keep on moving along.
Well, see, yes, I would say yes to that, Leigh. But then this is the other part to that. Usually we're blaming ourselves for things. A lot of times now, we're blaming ourselves for things that we see other people going through. Because the underlying part of that is saviorhood. I want to save you. I wasn't able to save you. So I blame myself that you're an alcoholic. I blame myself that you've gotten COVID. I blame myself because I didn't take care of you properly. So a lot of times now, we're blaming ourselves for other people's creation of reality because we felt a need to save them from their reality. We took on the responsibility of their lives on us. That's what we're doing. And when we take the responsibility of their lives on us, then we blame ourselves because their lives didn't go right.
Well, it sounds like a lot of work to me. I don't know. I worrying about our life and their life and somebody else's life and the pandemic and this, it's just, time out.
Right. I mean, imagine if you could turn all that external energy waste back in, right? Yeah. Focus on you. There was a old saying, a friend of mine used to say, stay in your hula hoop. You know, that hula hoop that just goes around you. Focus on what's inside of it and don't look out. And all of that you can put back into going deeper into you. Realm, we're in our last maybe 2 minutes of this conversation. Do you have any final words for the listeners?
Our final words are almost the same words we say every podcast at the end. Love thyself unconditionally. Don't put conditions on your life. Love yourself unconditionally. Appreciate yourself. If you created something that you say, oh, I wish I had never created that. Look at that. That's okay. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Famous words. Say it again. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Replace, replace, replace. I love myself unconditionally.
Thank you for sharing that today. We are wrapping up yet another podcast of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. And to all of our listeners, just to reiterate our conversation today, stop blaming yourself. Instead, appreciate yourself and see yourself as the worthy being that you are. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Until we create each other again, this has been Shifting Impressions. I'm Leigh, Yvonne, Gretta, and the Realm of Beings.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Gretta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multidimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.